as a former journalist, I'm keen for your comment out on our top story today. Just how worried are you about China's move to try and interrogate Australian journalists? We've seen 2 journos rushed out of China today over safety fears. How alarming is that behaviour by authorities in China?
Well, I think it's important in these circumstances, Ash, that the Minister for Foreign Affairs speaks on behalf of the government. It's not really going to be helpful in these very sensitive matters for me to be commentating freely on some of these issues. I mean, obviously, as an Australian, as a former journalist, I highly value freedom of the press, and I think it's important that the Minister for Foreign Affairs do her work in that regard.
Fair enough. We'll be getting some more analysis on that story shortly with a spokesperson from Human Rights Watch. Darren, on the COVID situation there in Victoria, you're coming to us live from your electorate in regional Victoria. We've seen no new cases recorded today. Some hints from Daniel Andrews that we might be able to see a faster easing of restrictions in regional Victoria if that continues to be the case. What's your take on the state's roadmap? What would you like to see Victoria doing differently at this point?
Well, I think in the context, Ash, of coming out of years of drought, then last summer's bushfires, and now the coronavirus, and now here I am in Wellington Shire in Gippsland where there are 0 cases, the coronavirus impact on small businesses in particular, on those family-owned businesses, is something which is deeply concerning to us. And I strongly believe that every job is worth fighting for, every job is worth trying to save, because it's going to be very hard to create jobs as we recover from the pandemic. So we've got to try and save the jobs we've already got. So my view is we need to be looking very constructively at working with the small business sector to get more businesses open. I mean, we have 0 cases here in Wellington Shire. There are many parts of regional Victoria with next to no cases whatsoever. With appropriate social distancing, with the hand hygiene, with the public wearing a mask, all those sort of restrictions that people are prepared to accept, we should be looking to open up more of the hospitality and accommodation sector as quickly as we possibly can, even if it's just for locals to make use of those services and to support local jobs.
So are you calling for that to happen now? I mean, if that social distancing, if mask wearing is in place, would you like to see the restrictions on businesses being opened happen like now? Is the time now to be doing this sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely, Ash. I mean, we have met the benchmark that the Premier is aiming to get Melbourne to at some stage in several weeks' time. Regional Victoria is already there. So some of these larger municipalities, like Wellington Shire and East Gippsland Shire, when you add the 2 of them together, they're the same size as Belgium, the country of Belgium. So it's a big landmass. You can achieve physical distancing quite easy in those communities. In the past, when we had stage 2, where we had some dining in restaurants and in hotels and takeaway food outlets having sit-down tables, we didn't have an outbreak of cases. So we need to be making sure we're putting in place restrictions which recognise the risk in different areas. And in regional parts of Victoria now, where there are 0 or next to no cases, there are opportunities to open more businesses up and get more jobs flowing in those economies.
So how would that actually look, though? Are you looking at putting a fence essentially around Metro Melbourne and stopping travel between the regions in order to allow those regional areas to open up now? I mean, is that the plan that you're pushing? Are you worried that if things do open up too quickly in regional areas, we could see this 3rd wave that Daniel Andrews keeps warning us about?
Ash, no one is talking about open further. No responsible person in regional Victoria is saying open everything up. We're simply saying that we were at stage 2 before and we were able to cope with no outbreaks. If you had a locals-only approach to some of these municipalities, you'd turn up at the restaurant, you'd show your car licence, photo ID, and you'd be able to go and sit down and have a meal and do all the appropriate social distancing rules that are in place in other states. I mean, this is a reasonable risk-based approach to it, and that's what the small business owners are talking to me about in my community and other parts of regional Victoria. Now, keep in mind, there's already a lockdown rule in place in Melbourne. People aren't meant to be travelling out here anyway, so until we get on top of the numbers in Melbourne, there's still ways we can help protect and save jobs in our regional communities. And going right back to what I said at the outset, this is coming off a drought, coming off bushfires. These communities have done it pretty tough already. I'm worried about the physical health, the mental health and the financial health of these communities, and this is something I think we can do to help get more of those jobs flowing in regional areas.
On the mental health risks associated with lockdowns, as Minister for Veteran Affairs, I know you spend a lot of time focusing on our veterans' well-being. Are you seeing a greater demand for programs on offer during this COVID period? I know you've got the PTSD Assistance Dogs program that's been well received. There's the Open Arms Veterans and Families Counselling program. Has demand for help in the veterans community really spiked throughout this period?
Well, sadly, Ash, the short answer to that question is yes. We've seen a 50% increase in calls to our Open Arms Counselling Service. That's the Veterans Open Arms Counselling Service, where free mental health care is available to all veterans and their families. We're also seeing increased calls to Lifeline in the general community. And I spoke to a mental health expert in my community today, and she was telling me the increase in presentations to the emergency department is quite concerning for them. So people who have been clients in the past with anxiety or depression, suffering from issues around isolation, have been presenting to the emergency department. And then they've had new cases, people they've never seen before coming forward. And that's natural. And these are difficult times for a lot of people. And I think, this week is Are You OK Day on Thursday. We're encouraging people to ask that question, to listen to their family and friends and their colleagues, to get a sense of, how people are coping. It's really difficult, Ash. We have, if someone gets a broken arm, we can see it. It's pretty obvious, and they go and get help. But if someone's suffering from mental ill health in any form, it can be hidden from the public, hidden from the community. So we need to encourage people to try and remove that stigma and talk about any concerns they're having, whether they be veterans or whether they be part of the civilian population.
Yeah, and that's something we are supporting here at Sky News as well. Are You OK Day coming up this week. It has been a tough year, as you point out, for everyone, particularly there in Victoria, the COVID crisis, the bushfires, as you pointed out. No matter your job or your status, it is a question worth asking, isn't it? Are you OK, Minister?
Yeah, thanks, Ash. I'm okay. I'm coping pretty well. I'm very lucky in the sense that I've got a great supportive family network and good work colleagues in my own office here and in Canberra as well. So, look, I'm coping pretty well. And we got through the bushfires as a community, and we're getting through the coronavirus now as a community. We're a pretty tough and resilient bunch in Gippsland. We're helping each other through these difficult times. But notwithstanding the simple fact that these are difficult and challenging times, I'm worried about our young people, Ash. I look at the young kids, 17, 18-year-olds going through year 11, year 12, and some of those milestone events like the school formal or the dead balls or the graduations that they would have normally held are going to be hard to hold this year, and that's not going to be easy for them. So I worry about making sure we're looking after young people in particular and letting them know that we can find a pathway through this together and better days will come.
Veterans Affairs Minister Darren Chester, appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Ash. Have a great day. Look after yourself.
And they are important issues. If you or anyone you know is feeling distressed, you can call Lifeline on 13 11 14 or visit lifeline.org.au/get help.